this is where, you know, writing often comes from, unfortunately. But and that's just, in some ways, just as the poor will always be with us, the rich will always be with us as well. And it's just, but the, you know, the reflectiveness that this guy from Eton, this old Etonian had.
Lower, upper, middle class.
Yeah, like the lower, well, that's it, the lower, and he was aware of that, but you know, when you think, as soon as somebody says lower, upper, middle class, you think, oh right, got it, yeah, you were from the mean streets of Eton, weren't you? But in a way, you know, he actually pays it through, you know, he knows what he's talking, he's thought through what he's trying to say, and that's what I like to take away from Orwell, from Wigan Pier.
Can I just add something, just following from what Stephen's saying, just to say that our services are delivered by 200 volunteers. They deliver the workshops for young people and families, and that's something else that if you want to help, you can go and volunteer with a local charity. I can use our very small local charity as an analogy with poor, disadvantaged families, because you know we've been affected by the government cuts, and many charities out there who are delivering vital services to the poor who are struggling to stay alive. You can also go and fundraise for a charity if it's supporting disadvantage. That's volunteering, fundraising for charity, because we're delivering vital services and we're not getting any money from the government. And services to the poor and disadvantaged are being cut by the government, and small charities like us are out there delivering these vital services, and we're desperately trying to stay alive. So volunteer or fundraising for a local charity would be fantastic.
Really quickly, the Citizens Advice Bureau in Speak
is
currently, people need to go to the food bank to get their free food parcels from Speak in Liverpool. But because all the food banks in the UK are run by a Christian organisation, which is fine, but they will only distribute food from churches. And the nearest church from Speak takes, it's a bus journey that's £2 out and £2 back. And people do not have enough money to buy food, they therefore don't have enough money for bus journeys. So the Citizens Advice Bureau in Speak are holding regular collections to get a £4 bus fare to go to the food bank, pick up the free food and come back. And they're having a disco this Friday. And if you just want to find the Speak CAB and send them a tenner, it will give the two families the chance to eat for 3 days. So those sorts of things. And that's the kind of level of activity we're talking about.
Well, ready for your questions now? I think I'm going to take 3 questions at a time and fill groups. So, who'd like to ask something? I've got a mic. Any questions? Wow. Thank you, sir. You start us off.
I still feel bad about losing the thing.
Don't you think he should have it?
Well, you know, I don't know, he's probably richer than that.
It does sort of look like the fix was in, doesn't it? You know, kind of like winning the book. You know.
I just wonder really, at some point, something political has happened, doesn't it? You know, we can volunteer for this and volunteer for that, and do all kinds of different things, which I absolutely agree with doing. But there has to be political change as well, doesn't it? Because that's where it's all coming from. So I'd like to ask the panel how they think that might happen. My own view is that we need to bring in a wide section of people across the political divide, what you might call good people who care about these things, you know, whether it's a good Tory, hopefully there are more good Labour people, and the Lib Dems don't know what they're doing at the moment, so they can certainly join in. I think there needs to be a wide-ranging political movement, social democratic, I would have thought, involving people of goodwill all across this country. The kind of goodwill that we've seen during the Olympics, where, you know, I'm really proud to see people on the street supporting every kind of colour, every kind of breed in all the events. And I think that politicians should have more confidence in ordinary people, and that really is the way forward politically, in involving as wide a spectrum of people as possible.
For me, I could answer that, and what I would say to that is, until we make a start, no one else will. So it's all about, let's stop the talk shops and let's start doing something. And the politicians will notice once they see people coming together and actually making a positive movement. And until then, you could knock on all the doors, but no one will answer. So it's all about you making a start. And what I will throw in there I've also got a Facebook page with a lot of political people on there. So if anyone is on the internet, which I'm sure you all are, you could actually use my Facebook page to provoke conversations or make links with other people. So that's something I'm just throwing out there.
I think there's a truth in that, which is that when you go around, a lot of people who are doing good things are doing it in isolation, and I think that kind of level of communication and context is really important, so that Barbara in Wigan, who doesn't know about Jacqueline in London, who doesn't talk to Eileen at the CAB in Speak, it is relatively simple for those things to happen. I mean, and I think things like going through or anyone's Facebook or Twitter page and just trying to keep talking, I think, is where the political thing comes in. I think that I think you're right, the political thing is important. I think that at the same time there are people who are starving right now at the moment, so I think we have to do something now. At the same time, keep the ideas in mind for something bigger and broader. You know, if you like, that's your lesson. You know, pick up your gun, but make sure that you're still voting and make sure you're still arguing. I think as to what the set of ideas is, I think we could spend another entire week discussing this. So I won't get to that.
Any more questions? I know a lady at the front wanted to ask a question. Do we have any more to do a sweep afterwards? Lovely. Anyone else? Now you're not so shy.
I wanted to think about food banks. I'm really saddened that we've got more and more of them being developed in Hertfordshire. I was shocked when I heard about them being developed in Cornwall 3 years ago, and now we've got them here. Is it right that we accept that? No, people are going hungry, they haven't got food. Are we going to allow that to become the norm for a certain part of our society?
Okay, brilliant. Let's have another question. I think there's a lady here.
More than a question was to support every single word that this gentleman first spoken. And I think it's very important what you just said, because we put the finger in the wound. I think the politicians needed to know that the people are together. I here want to mention just a very simple thing. We have in Spain last year a movement called the 15th of May, and the politicians heard them. They debate after that, so I think it's very important the point you just mentioned. Only to say that. Thank you.
Do we have another question? Just behind the lady.
Mine isn't really a question, it's just more a sort of feeling of really being conflicted about, yes, good volunteering, but somehow, can we get a code word for it? Because I'm bugging if I'm going to let it become part of a big society.
So let's just address these ladies who'd like to jump in. Food banks. Stephen?
I'll give you an example. I think it was in Westminster, outside, I think it was Westminster Cathedral. I think the councillors there decided that they didn't want the food bank to be outside the cathedral for the homeless because it was going to lower the tone of the area. And they were quite, vociferous about, let's put a stop to this. So your point about, oh my God, are we going to accept food banks? Well, actually, the politicians are saying, actually, let's sweep it under the carpet. And it's almost normalising it. There's a danger of the food banks, I think, because we also have this rise in breakfast clubs for children, because children are coming to school hungry. And there's been a great increase in the number of breakfast clubs for children, a great uptake and a great demand. So already it's been normalised. So I fear that it's a bit too late for us to be thinking, oh my God, it's the norm. I think it is the norm. And that's the worrying thing.
I mean, since 2000, the welfare state has been gradually moved from sanctions brought in 2000 by the Labour government. And so the concept that you could have all of your money taken away became a norm. And so the food banks are there because there is no sense, I think, in anywhere politically that anyone is going to restore any of the benefits or any of these supporting measures. I don't think we can expect, unless we follow through on what you're talking about, the political ideas, or unless we talk about the unity and the protest, I don't think that there's any sense in anyone's going to try and do anything about that. So the food banks will increase. And then we have to, again, this is where the discussion is also falling tonight, is what do you do? Do you decide to get involved with the food bank, or do you decide, what do you do? But I mean, I think we can say it's a terrible thing, but I think